Welcome to the Bold Money Revolution podcast. This is your source for straight talking, no fluff, business and high performance conversations that add real depth and value to the way bold leaders live, work, and thrive. I'm your host, Tara Newman. I'm here to show you how to optimize your performance as a leader so that you can grow a business that is profit-rich, efficient, and allows you to generate real, tangible wealth for yourself and others. We are here to help you lead with your values, to perform without overwhelm and burnout, and to do your most important work in the world. Worrying about the economy? Struggling to make sales? Been in business for a while, but you feel like you're going backwards? Then this episode is for you. I'm your host, Tara Newman, and today I'm going to be sharing the beat on the street. That's what I call what I'm hearing the most in these conversations that I've been having on a regular and daily basis. Some deep down rabbit hole nerdery and practical perspective shifts, which is my secret sauce for a bingeable podcast. That's how I create bingeable podcasts, of which this is one. I keep hearing that from people, and I absolutely love it. I was on a podcast once, and they had said, "Oh, your podcast is really bingeable. It's the stuff that people are looking for at 2 a.m. in the morning when they're, deep down in their anxiety and their worry." And I loved that reflection because that is 100% exactly the intention behind the majority of these episodes. So let's dive in. 3 themes that have been present in conversations with experts running service-based businesses like you have been: what was working doesn't seem to be working anymore. I don't know what's going on with my target audience, but something has shifted. And I'm spending more of my time searching Indeed for the perfect job. I always know we are in a bit of a predicament when people are either looking for their perfect job or wondering whether or not it might be a better idea to go and apply for a job as a barista. That's always my fallback. I'm like, I'm just going to go be a barista. So that's how I know when we need to have a little bit of a check-in. And to say that we're in a perfect storm right now would be redundant because that seems to be the most used word this year. It's akin to 2020's use of the word unprecedented. Now, there is a quote that I used to reference a ton when coaching athletes and high-performing leaders, and it goes like this: "You will never rise to your expectations, but you will always default to your level of training," right? You will never rise to your level of expectations, but you will always default to your level of training. And in a nutshell, I think that's pretty much what's happening today for the majority of people, which is good because we can always increase our training. We can always reset and find a new default. So most small business owners fall into the trap of executing reactionary tactics rather than training themselves to do the more, let's face it, grueling work of learning and carving out the time to think strategically about their businesses. And this reason is pretty simple. They're just too busy. They've taken on too much. They have the weight of the world on their shoulders. So they spend their days fighting fires and focused on activities that look good, but just don't really move the needle that much. It's a pretty safe place to be when you're firefighting, believe it or not. It keeps you from really stretching yourself because you have the excuse of, well, this needs to happen now. And it's not just with individuals. This is a human behavior. This is an organizational behavior. Majority of time, organizations won't progress and won't get their most important work done because they are just too busy, right? So we are currently in a time that is going to require you to raise the bar on your energy management, on your mindset, and on your skill set. And this is really not your fault. You haven't done anything wrong, right? You're operating from the context of what you have today, and you are now going to have to operate from a different context. And your ability to adapt from one context to the other context is pretty much what would make you a high performer or not, is the reality, right? Because our businesses require a level of performance and a level of optimal performance from us and from the business itself. And I say this isn't really your fault because one, you might not have been exposed to a context like this that you need to adapt to, but also in online business culture. And I'm going to take a moment and define online business culture because some of you might not identify with it. I mean, I don't. I have a whole episode on why I don't run an online business. And I'm going to share with you at the end of this what I think you actually want instead. And so stay tuned for that. I'm going to share that with you. But even if you do or you don't, you are most likely a part of this culture, even if you're adjacent to it or watching it from the sidelines. But anytime you consume business content on a social media app, in my opinion, you are engaged in online business culture, including me. We are watching it happen in front of us. We are subject to it. We are taking in those messages, sometimes at a very alarming rate, pace, volume. And it does impact our thinking, our conditioning. And I hear this from a lot of people that when they listen to this podcast and when they work with me, there's a bit of cognitive dissonance there for them that, they're seeing one message a lot and very prevalently, and then I have a different message and they know what I do gets results, but at the same time, they're still getting input from outside sources. And so it takes a little bit to kind of get on board at times. So anytime you are consuming business content from a social media app, you are engaged in online business culture. Now, most of us are hanging out on the fringes watching this shit show thinking, dear God, I don't want to be like them. Or why the hell is that person with less experience than me crushing it over there and I'm spinning in circles, right? This is usually where we go with this. We're sitting on the sidelines, we're judging, we're comparing. And that's not good either. And I raise my hand, right? Like to this as well. This has been me. This can be me depending on where I am in my own headspace. So typical online business culture is culty. It's steeped in quick fixes, atypical results, psychologically harmful levels of manipulation, and continues this proliferation of profiting off of hustle culture, cronyism, and misogyny. A male colleague of mine commented to me, we were doing a breakdown of somebody's data and their launch because they'd posted it online. And he said, half these people wouldn't generate the level of revenue they do if they weren't good looking. Right. And that's kind of what I mean when I say misogyny. And we as women, I know primarily women listen to this, we are subject to our own internalized misogyny where we make those decisions as well. Right. So after the 2020 election cycle, I was in a deep, dark place known as Twitter when I stumbled upon a tweet thread by a Yale professor named Timothy Snyder, who very simply in 10 tweets unpacked what we were seeing called the big lie, which I'm going to share with you right now. And I swear that I'm going somewhere with this podcast episode, and I didn't just give you a clickbaity title of why you're not making money right now. But so much of this, I feel, has to do with what we are seeing in the online space. So Timothy Snyder's tweet unpacks the big lie technique in today's terms. And the big lie is a propaganda technique used for political purpose. The expression was coined by Adolf Hitler when he dictated his 1925 book, Mein Kampf. This is basically what Wikipedia is saying. I'm reading to you from Wikipedia. Okay, so here's what Timothy Snyder had to say. The claim that Trump won the election is a big lie. A big lie changes reality. To believe it, people must disbelieve their senses, distrust their fellow citizens, and live in a world of faith. Now, I see this as being parallel to what we see with the internet marketers, right? Internet marketers sell a dream like it's reality, and to believe it, people must disbelieve what they already know. They must start to distrust anyone who questions the dream and live in a world of faith where this is just going to materialize and manifest. And we wonder why we get so twisted up and turned around. And like I've said in the past, and I hate to use the word stupid, but I see a lot of smart people come online and kind of become stupid in the sense that they forget the things that they already know. Well, that's intentional, right? Think about it. He goes on to say, a big lie demands conspiracy thinking, since all who doubt it are seen as traitors. Now, internet marketing, selling the dream, requires you to believe them without any critical thinking. If you doubt the web celeb, you are shunned through being told it's your mindset or your inability to get results, and they have the power to revoke your sense of belonging in that community. A big lie undoes a society, since it divides citizens into believers and unbelievers. Right? We see this in the polarity of internet marketing and how it splits people into factions of what they believe, who will drink the Kool-Aid versus who won't drink the Kool-Aid. And, if you don't drink the Kool-Aid, you will continue to be not enough and unworthy. A big lie destroys democracy, since people who are convinced that nothing is true but the utterances of the leader ignore voting and its results, right? A big lie destroys personal agency, since people who are convinced that nothing is true but the teachings of the web celeb, so they ignore basic fundamentals, their own intuition. A big lie must bring violence, as it has, right? He was obviously referring to the January 6th Commission. And while I want to be careful in how I make this distinction between what Timothy Snyder is talking about and the online business space, the marketing messages online do cause harm. Right? They keep people stuck. They keep people undervaluing themselves. They keep them under earning and with heaps of debt from continually investing in these programs. A big lie can never be told by just one person. He goes on to say Trump is the originator of this big lie, but it could never have flourished without his allies on Capitol Hill. And I think that we see this when we see these web celebs surrounded by their peers of other web celebs, all propping each other up in this form of cronyism, affiliating for each other and requiring, a peer group of influencers with a large social following, right? This is how it gets supported. And I'm not saying that they understand what they're doing. I'm actually going to give everyone the benefit of the doubt and say that this is coming from a good place. But when we see it play out online with tools from big tech that we know are meant to change and manipulate what you actually are exposed to, what you see, so it changes what you think and believe, there is something there that feels like we need to have some caution around. All right. He goes on to say political futures now depend on this big lie. Senators Hawley and Cruz are running for president on the basis of this big lie, right? The future of web celebs depend on this big lie. Many of them have proteges who have created huge followings and millions of dollars off of their proximity to someone, off of their access to someone, off of the basis of the big lies that are told in the online marketing space, even though they know that they either don't work as well as they're being advertised, or that they are causing massive amounts of debt or mental and emotional health issues for the business owners. There is a cure for the big lie. Our elected representatives should tell the truth without dissimulation about the results of the 2020 election, right? Any brand with influence, no matter how small, should tell the truth And that is what I hope to do. That is what I try to do here. I really appreciate all of you who show up for this kind of conversation and who share it. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm absolutely not perfect. And I am a part of this system just like everybody else. And it has taken me years to reflect on and look at where I am upholding parts of this system that I don't want to uphold, right? And I see all the time people teaching tactics without talking about what they're teaching. So here's a familiar one. I see all the time people teaching NLP in copywriting. I don't have an objection to NLP. I just know that some people don't use it for good, right? Some people, use it for manipulation and for reasons that feel a bit slimy and gross, right? There, I can count on my one hand how many people who are NLP practitioners that I genuinely trust and believe. So it's not about NLP per se. It's about who is teaching it and the fact that they often don't share what they're teaching is NLP. And then we all tend to pick up on these things and use them unknowingly, especially if you've been trained by somebody who hasn't told you that that's what they're using or why they're using it. So, again, we're kind of all in this together, unfortunately and fortunately. So the last point that he makes is that politicians who do not tell the simple truth perpetuate the big lie further. They further an alternative reality. They support conspiracy theories, weaken democracy, right? So internet marketers who aren't honest perpetuate these lies. They further this alternate reality that so many of us have bought into in one way or another at one time in our businesses or another. And it weakens a business owner's ability to actually make real money so they can provide for their families. And that is really why I wanted to share that with all of you, because if we're going to talk about why you're not making money, we have to talk about some of these lies and how we've been swept up into them and the impact that they're having on our businesses, and that it's not your fault, right? So I want to unpack 3 big lies that I have been thinking about, right? These are just been on my mind. So big lie number 1, anyone can run a business that provides a steady and reliable income long-term. That's not true. That's not true. Not everybody was meant to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody was meant to be a business owner. It's hard. It takes a lot of risk. It takes a lot of confidence. It takes a lot of support. It takes the ability to sell from a place of empathy and service, not manipulation and persuasion, right? Big lie number 2, starting an online business is a low cost, low barrier to entry. That is not true. All businesses required continual capital investment and a leader who takes risks with their money, right? You're going to make mistakes. It's going to cost you money, but that is how you become a better business owner, right? And so there is no low cost, low barrier to entry. This is a combat sport. You're going to get nicked and bruised. But I personally think it's worth it, right? I think we can make it fun. I think we can take the pressure off. I think we can make it more enjoyable. This is what I'm here to do. However, we cannot change that until we accept the truth, right? Until we can walk away from the lie and accept the truth, then things can change. Big lie number 3, starting, growing, running a business is easy, and because it's online, success happens quickly. Your business is not an ATM. It's not a slot machine that only hits jackpots. No tactic is going to help you create money overnight. I know people like to talk about cash injections and cash infusions, and we can absolutely accelerate revenue. I have a whole curriculum worth of that material inside the Bold Profit Academy. But it's not a faucet that we can turn on and turn off. Just as an example, I have a business line of credit and I wanted to switch banks so I needed to apply for a new business line of credit, and I wanted to apply for more money because the last time I applied for it, my business wasn't making as much. So I wanted to increase my line of credit and switch banks. That took 2 weeks. That was not overnight. Like, I can't even get money from a bank overnight, right? There's an application process. There's things that I need to do consistently during that application process. There are conversations that need to be had in order for me to get that money. Now, I can get money overnight because I have a business line of credit so that if anything happens, I have a business savings account where I've been regularly and consistently contributing money to because I implement profit first, right? So if you forget about I need to make money now and you focus on long-term sustainability and foundations, you won't ever need a cash injection, in my opinion. So your business is not an ATM, right? And I'll say that there's a fourth big lie here around everybody being told it's their mindset. Yes, how we think about our businesses, sales, making money does matter. We absolutely want to look at our conditioning, our family of origin, beliefs, and attitudes, and we want to engage in learning how to navigate the realities of business and still be able to find joy, exhibit a growth mindset, and have an optimistic and hopeful worldview. But there are also skills, steps, and sequencing to how you start at zero and progress towards way more than zero, right? Going from zero to more than zero, there are steps and sequences and skills that you need to build along the way. So here is a short list, additional to what we just talked about, things that you can think about, things that you can consider as you assess why you might not be making money right now. So first, why do you want to make money and how much of it do you want to make? You need radical clarity here. Otherwise, you're going to get distracted and you're going to wind up building a business for someone else's needs and not your own. So when I work with my clients around this question and we dig really deep under the surface, the reasons for wanting more revenue in their business are real, poignant, compelling, and serious. They want to feel empowered. They want to feel powerful. They want to be able to provide safety for themselves, and they're worried about their financial futures. What if something happens to their spouse? What if something happens to their health? What about the special needs child that they want to provide additional care for that is outside of the insurance, or that this child might need care for longer than they expected? Or the baby they want to have through IVF that is going to cost them money, or the abuse they're trying to escape, or the confidence they need to leave a relationship that is meh, but they know they deserve better. Personally, for me, what drives me a lot is I really worry about the lack of social support in this country and how that's going to impact my children's future and my community. I see it all the time. Parents are so spread thin. They're working so hard. They're working jobs that they might have to travel a distance for to get the better income to provide for their families. And they're not as available for, driving to and from activities or so on and so forth. And so, that's one of my favorite things to do. Owning my own business is I do have that time freedom, and I do have ways that I am in control of my finances and my financial future. So I can give more of my time. I can pick up more of the carpooling. I can drive kids. I can be the person they call, even if their parents, may be unavailable. And so that's something that really hits home for me. And we all have our own thing, but we really need to know what it is, and we need to dig deep for it. 2, energy management is your number one job. And there's a good likelihood that you are not prioritizing this. We're really big on what I call an EMS framework, energy, mindset, strategy, in that order. And I find that when women join the Bold Profit Academy, a lot of the times that's their work. They need to be focusing on that energy management. When we feel good, it changes everything, including our confidence. And it's that confidence piece that will hang you out to dry every damn time, from not asking for the sale, to undercharging, to over-delivering, to spending too much money on random tactics. When we feel good, good things happen. Excitement and enthusiasm are critical, not in a fake it till you can make it kind of a way, but because people can smell that shit from a mile away, right? But in a way that embodies your commitment to being at your best. 3, you believe that making money has to be hard, so you make it more complicated than it needs to be. And good Lord, there are an infinite amount of ways to make this complicated, especially if you are doing what I said in the beginning, opening an app and seeking business information, education from social media. Everybody has a different perspective. I have a different perspective. I have my own skill sets. That's why I try to be very, very clear and explicit on who I can help and where my strengths lie, so that you get the right help and you are listening to the right person, right? I am speaking to service experts running service-based businesses at, the broadest sense of the term. And so, a lot of them are doing one-on-one work. They have a goal of paying themselves 6 figures, because if they were working a traditional 9-to-5, that's what they would be earning right now. Some of them are scoping Indeed already, right? Seeing what's out there. These are my people. High-touch service providers, right? With a depth of knowledge and expertise, who are prioritizing wanting to get paid, mainly so their partner can shut up and stop asking them when their business is going to start providing. Just kidding. That happens to none of us, I know. So listen, infinite ways that you can make things more complicated. 4, the strategies you're using are not aligned with your business model, which I see a lot with service-based businesses, right? And this is what I mean. Are you following the people who are talking to you? Or are you following the advice of somebody who's talking to somebody with a different business model? An example, selling low-dollar products or programs when the right buyer for you is actually more mature and willing to pay top dollar to be supported. Or maybe they're further along in their business or in their health journey or something like that, and you're selling them a real entry-level solution. It's not going to happen. Or you're using like Facebook Lives when your audience doesn't consume Facebook Lives, right? So we have to be really sure that the strategies we're using are aligning with your business model. Okay, this one's not a great one. And, some of you are going to need to hear this, but you think you know it all. Even when you want support, you show up like you already know the solution, like you know everything. And I get it. As experts, we have been rewarded for being the most knowledgeable. We have been rewarded for having our shit together. We have been rewarded for having all the answers. We have been rewarded for being the most competent person in the room. So we're given all the things, and we are used to being self-reliant and all of that. However, you got to put that down and you got to pick up a beginner's mindset, because you are most likely not seeing things that you need to see. Because if you already knew it all, you would be where you want to be. And there is absolutely no shame in adopting a beginner's mindset. As a matter of fact, that is where the juice is. I love working with people who have similar skill sets to me, or even the same skill set to me, because I get to see my work through a different lens, and I get to pick up on tweaks, tiny tweaks and optimizations that I might not have found, instead of going and learning something that I know nothing about, where I truly am a beginner. So learn how to be both expert and beginner, because if you think you know it all, that is really going to stop you from making the money you want to make. Here's another one that I see, and I don't think people realize they're doing it. I think people are just tired. And I think that the incredibly excruciating learning curve that comes with small business and running a business and making money is exhausting and fatiguing. And you're not necessarily intentionally doing this, but we need to correct it. So you want to acquire knowledge without doing the learning of the knowledge. And you think that you can acquire the knowledge by osmosis without learning, without failure, without mistakes, without taking risks. It's not possible. That is just all a part of the game. And so if this is a behavior that you identify with, or you're like, ooh, Tara just pulled something back here, what I want you to consider is expanding the time horizon. You don't have to learn it all now. Mastery comes over years and years and years and years and years. I can show up here with the knowledge that I have because I have over 20 years of experience under my belt, and I'm still learning every day. I have time on my calendar where I am looking at a piece of research that's in my area of expertise, or I am reading an article or reading a book, or I learn from my clients. Honestly, they're my best teachers, right? And I learn from all of you when you come into my email or you DM me or whatever, you reach out and you start a conversation with me. I can't have these podcasts. I can't do these podcasts if I didn't have these conversations. I learn from all of you. You're often my best teachers. So, I think learning is a critical competency for entrepreneurship, probably the most critical competency for entrepreneurship, even above something like sales. Here's the seventh one. You're not truly listening to what your audience wants. You want what you want without considering their needs and desires. And I feel so passionately about understanding why people buy, understanding the people who you want to go all in on and you want to make a difference in their world. Well, you have to first understand their world, offering services in a slightly different way to ensure my customers received exactly what they wanted mattered. You can't always say things the way you want to say them. Sometimes you have to say things the way your people need to hear them. And trust me, I have tantrumed over this. I have supported business owners who tantrum over this, who tell me, well, that's baiting and switching. This whole concept of tell them what they want, give them what they need. That's like such a bait and switch. I'm like, no, it's not. It's speaking to them and meeting them where they're at right now. That's what that is. Right? You have to ask yourself, are you here to serve or are you here to fluff up your ego? That's it. Okay. 8, you're resentful of your community or your current customers because you give, and don't feel like they value your work, meaning they aren't paying you for your work or they aren't paying you enough for your work. So you wind up giving a ton and not getting what is fair and equitable in exchange. Reality check. This is about you and not them. You have to have boundaries. Let me give you an example of something that came out. I'll never forget this. It was years ago. But I sat down with an attorney who was local, met them at like a networking event. And it was hysterical because I was dressed. This is like, I was in like one of my like finding myself moments. And I'm like all in like this bohemian type of flowy outfit. And he walks in and he's in like a black pinstripe suit. Like the juxtaposition was comical. Right. And so he spends 15 minutes telling me about his cheap clients. And I'm using kind words when I say cheap clients. He was not as kind. He was on a tear. Once he was done venting, he looked at me and said, so my phone isn't ringing. Nobody is calling. Maybe we can brainstorm marketing or sales strategies. Can you help me with that? And I was like, no. No. Right? That's not the actual problem. It's his energy and his mindset that we need to talk about, not another strategy or a tactic. So just something to be present to. And I will tell you that I 100% have women say to me often and frequently how resentful they feel about their businesses. They come and they want to burn down their businesses. And 75% of the time, I can draw it back to who they're doing business with and how they're in relationship with their target market and the boundaries that they are not creating. And my final reason why you might not be making money right now, which has nothing to do with the economy, because the women in the Bold Profit Academy are definitely making money, right? They are finding ways, they are creating opportunity, they are consistently taking action. If they fall, if they fumble, if they flub it up, we catch them, we remind them that that is a part of the journey and that is actually a win. And they are signing contracts. They are enrolling clients. They're doing work. They're getting paid, right? And so here's the last part. You haven't decided it's done. Decide that the outcome you want is here now. How would you show up in your business? How would you show up in your life? Who would you be if what you wanted was here now? If you were paying yourself 6 figures, how would you show up? What decisions would you make? You have to decide that it is done. Now, let me paint you a picture and help you clarify what you want. I said I was going to do this in the beginning, that, I don't run a quote unquote online business. I have a podcast episode on that. But I want to help you qualify what I think you want when you are engaged in this space, in this culture, and it's sucking you in, even though you know that there are some big lies here, okay? It can be alluring. It can be very sexy. But here's what you actually want. You want a business that is fully remote, so you can spend the majority of your time working asynchronously, not live with people, asynchronously, which gives you the opportunity to have a flexible schedule while getting paid great money for the work that you do that brings you meaning and purpose. I know that was a lot of words, but instead of quote unquote online business that has a special kind of like business model to it, I want you to know that your business can be digital, it can be fully remote, whatever you want to call it. It could be remote first. So you can spend the majority of your time working offline, asynchronously, which gives you that opportunity for a flexible schedule while getting paid great money to do work that brings you meaning and purpose. You want to find ways to attract your very best clients without jumping through hoops and pimping yourself for the algorithm. You're done being a court jester. You're done jumping through the hoops. You've done that your entire career. Your dues are paid. Thank you very much. Here's your receipts. You're done, right? That's how we should be. No more hoop jumping. We're in command. We've earned that. You want to have what feels like predictable revenue so you know exactly how much you can pay yourself each month. You want it to feel easy on your energy because you're already exhausted. Yes, you. You are already at capacity with the other things that you have in your life, with the state of the world. You're already exhausted. We need things that feel easy and effortless on our energy while still creating a high impact. We want that low-lying fruit. You want to radically reduce the feelings of pressure, of stress, and worry. And do not tell me that you don't fit into that category. Most of you do. 61% of women small business owners experience daily worry and stress. So you can actually go and enjoy the quality of life you dreamed of when you left that fluorescently lit cubicle farm in the dust, right? Majority of us left because we wanted a better quality of life. So if I've somehow managed to read your mind, and nail your big desire, then I want you to hop on over to theboldleadershiprevolution.com/academy and join the waitlist now. And I'm going to tell you what happens next after you join that waitlist. Each month, I reach out to the entire waitlist, and I reach out personally, and I check in, and I invite you to join us. I invite you to have a conversation with me about joining us. We take 4 new people a month, so we onboard people smoothly and get everyone on the best foot. That's how that works. That's why we roll it that way. We are moderating our growth so we can provide as best of an experience to you with the least amount of friction in your onboarding as possible. Now, you might feel like you're not ready this moment, but you're still interested. I want to encourage you to still sign up for the waitlist. You can always just respond to me and say, hey, now's not the right time, but keep me in mind for next time. And I will continue to reach out until you tell me to fuck off, basically. It's how that works. Because the fortune is in the follow-up. The reality is that most sales are made after 7 touch points. Fun fact. So if this sounds like you, if you want to join the Bold Profit Academy, go head on over to theboldleadershiprevolution.com/academy and get yourself on the waitlist today. If you found this podcast valuable, help us develop more bold leaders in the world by sharing this episode with your friends, colleagues, and other bold leaders. Also, if you haven't done so already, please leave a review. I consider reviews like podcast currency, and it's the one thing you can do to help us out here at the Bold Leadership Revolution HQ. We would be so grateful for it. Special thanks goes to Stacey Harris from Uncommonly More, who is the producer and editor of this podcast. Go check them out for all your digital marketing and content creation needs. Be sure to tune into the next episode to help you embrace your ambition and leave the grind behind.